America.
You're golden. All right. Welcome everybody to, it feels like the middle of the year, but it really is only the, I think, third week of January. I think we're all feeling it, 2023. So welcome to the Ideas at Dawn January free webinar. In the chat, go ahead, put your name, where you're from, and what should we do, Mike, for fun?
What I want to know what everybody does for fun. Do they go spelunking? Do they like reading books? Are they like crack dealers? I kind of want to know that.
Okay, so what do you do for fun? So your name, where you're located, and what you do when you're not working. Hopefully you have something. Let's have a balanced lifestyle. And then we'll get started. Welcome, Dustin. He's golfing. That's a good idea.
Nice.
You can do that in Atlanta kind of all year round, can't you? I think you can. Welcome, Michelle. Cross-stitching. I saw, I'm sure, I think it was on LinkedIn, somebody's funny, this wasn't a meme, photo of them cross-stitching on an airplane. I should send that to you, Michelle. It was funny. Mike is working out, comic books, pop culture. Aaron, razoring in the mountains, glamping. That's good. Oh yeah, inappropriate cross-stitching. Ashley, don't you like to do roller derby, or do you just do that when you come to Colorado?
I do also do roller derby. I was going to skip that one, y'all.
Come on. That's the only thing I know that you do outside of the office.
It's not wrong.
Okay. All right. We'll get started. So thank you all. What we're here today, hopefully you'll learn lots, but talking about quick fixes for bad slides. Expectations, we are a small group. So be active, participate, interrupt Mike as often as you want. Ask questions in the chat. The goal is to send the recording out tomorrow or maybe Monday. We'll see, sometime soon. No stupid questions. We would love to see your face. Even if you're eating lunch, Ashley, we all get it. We already introduced yourself. Okay, who am I? Some of you I don't know yet. Angie Wolfe. I am the owner, founder, master trainer, speaker extraordinaire of Ideas at Dawn, bringing you 20 years of experience in the AEC industry. So for those that love acronyms as much as me or hate them as much as me, engineering or architecture, engineering, construction, spent the last 20 years-ish. Oh, geez. See, I need to edit my slide. How did we lose a comma? Working for firms like Kiewit, HDR, MWH, Kramer, so multinational to regional firms, helping them with their pursuits from, we won't call any of them easy, but call it best value to P3s. And helping them win multi-billions of dollars along the way. The goal is, in what my firm does, is helping you bring a competitive advantage with your proposals and trainings, and to help train your staff to help you win more work without adding on more payroll. So that's a little bit about my firm and what we do. I'll introduce Mike, and then we'll get started. So we've had Mike before, but if you are new to him or don't know who he is, he's a geek. His name is Mike Parkinson. Let's not confuse him with Mike McKenzie, also on the call. Mike is APMP certified. What else, Mike? PowerPoint extraordinaire, owns a couple businesses, partner at 24-hour company, billion-dollar graphics.
Yada yada.
Do comics. What else did you say? Comics, workout, and pop culture. Lives in the DC area. All around great human. Anything else, Mike?
That's it. I'm good with it as a geek.
Okay, and then for those that stay to the end, if you haven't seen what I've been posting on LinkedIn, we'll just introduce you to an offer that we're talking about related to a training for those in the AEC world. We have that coming up here in February, so stay to the end and I'll get you more information about that. Otherwise, Mike, it is all you.
Awesome. I am going to start sharing my screen. And at the very end, I will be giving away the slides and as much cool stuff as I can give you. I'll give you a link at the very end. I'll also share that link with Angie so she can make it available for the recording as well. Angie, can you see everything?
I can.
Brilliant. We have a very small group. As I said earlier, most of my webinars are somewhere in the neighborhood of 500 or 800 people. We have a much more intimate crowd. So please ask questions. We can have a conversation today. I am going to not be able to see chat as easily as Angie can. So Angie will be taking a look at chat. So unmute yourself, interject, ask. It doesn't matter. There's nothing that you can ask. Say, hey, Mike, what about this? I keep dealing with this in PowerPoint. Any thoughts? And if I have an answer, I'll give it to you. If I don't, I will point you in the right direction at the very least, or say, you know what? I don't think that's possible. So here are the quick fixes. We're going to go through 10 quick fixes. They're things you typically have to deal with over and over again. The first one is a super duper quick fix. And I ran this by Angie and she said, yes, but, and then we're going to go through, what if you have a but situation? What do you do? So if you take a look at these slides, each one of these slides are kind of shifting about and they're not really consistent. So one of the things you can do is if you select your slides and Windows or Mac, it doesn't matter, you go to layout, and in PowerPoint, you have a master slide with multiple layouts. So what you can do is you can choose a layout, select the slides, choose the layout, and then it automatically fixes that misalignment because it uses what's called placeholders, meaning that each one of those little text boxes were placeholders and it realigns them to match your slide master. Now, what happens if you do not have either a slide master that's working, or when you apply the layout, it doesn't work? It's an easy fix if you know how. So if I have a deck, let's say I'm going to choose a layout, I'm going to go down here and I'm going to choose this layout right here. And if you notice, it didn't fix my problem. And now it looks almost worse. Michelle, quick fix, reapply the template. Oh, thank you, Angie.
Yeah.
You're awesome. So now what I can do is I can copy my text, delete it because I don't need it anymore, go here and then choose, and then you can paste and match the same style. There's multiple ways to do it, but you're going to paste it in there. You're just going to copy your text from the background, copy the text from the background, and you're going to delete it and then paste it in the appropriate placeholder. So this is how you would fix the slide that was really bad. So we went from that slide that was not consistent with our brand standards, and we simply applied a layout and then copy and pasted the content from the old one into the placeholders of the new one. All slide masters have placeholders. That's what these little things are. These little elements are called placeholders. They are not text boxes. So if someone were to create a slide and put their text into text boxes, when you apply the layout, it would do what just happened. It wouldn't automatically place the text into the placeholders because they're two very different things. What happens when you have a table that looks jacked, messed up, weird, funky? Well, one of the easiest ways to fix it, same thing, is go to your table design tab and choose a design that's in your colors. All of these will be within your theme colors. Basically, a slide master, a template automatically has these colors built in. So I apply it and then I reformat it. So I'm selecting all my text and I'm saying, hey, I want all my text to be 18 point, and it is. I want all my text to be centered, and it is. And I want all my text to be aligned to the middle, and it is. I want all my text to be bold, and it is. So I basically I'll assign the same formatting. The same is true for my narrative in my table. So I'm going to go down to these cells, select them all, and I'm going to say I want them all to be 14 point. I want them all to be aligned to the left, and I want them all to vertically align to the middle, and then boom, I've got myself a finished table, and that probably took me 30 seconds to do. All I'm doing is reapplying the slide master or template, if you will, for the table or the layouts. That's all I'm doing. All right. Any questions about that before I move forward?
Yes, Mike. If you would have cleared formatting, would have done the same?
No, it wouldn't have. It would have gone to a default state. So
Okay,
the default
even though
state.
you have styles in that table?
Right, it might have gone to that.
Oh, okay.
So it depends upon the style that is the default. And
Okay.
you can assign the default for things by simply right-clicking on the object and choosing, let's do this. As long as it's not a, let's do this.
A header.
You can assign a default. So if let's say I draw this circle, I can right-click on it and choose set as default shape. So you can right-click and choose set as default. So you can make that your default. And the reason why you'd want to do that is because, let's say I draw a square and I change the color and I change, let's see, I make it, change the text inside, and I want the text to be yellow, and there I go. So now I'm going to draw a new shape, and oh man, so now I'd have to click here, go to home, format, click here. No, you don't have to do that anymore. All you have to do is choose, right click, set as default shape, and then every time I draw a new shape, it will always be formatted this way.
Oh, nice.
Yep. Makes your life way easier.
That was a
Next
freebie.
Yes. Better pictures. This is a kind of a duh thing, but if you have a slide and it looks unprofessional, I'd say somewhere in the neighborhood of 50% of the time, it's because the imagery is low res or low quality or unprofessional. One of the best ways to fix that, in my opinion, is to simply go to a website like Pexels or Pixabay and download a higher resolution, better version of these pictures. So I'll type these in right now.
You got
So
it?
we
Otherwise,
have-
I can do it, Mike.
It's up to you. Pexels.com and Pixabay.com. Do you know those?
What's the second one? I got the first one.
All right. So Pixabay.com,
Pixabay.
Pixabay.com. Both of them are free. And if I could type in, let's say, landscape. Type in landscape. I'm going to get some amazing free photographs that I can download in different resolutions. For PowerPoint, I recommend. Go ahead.
Have you compared it against Unsplash? Because that's what I usually use.
Unsplash, all of my colleagues prefer Unsplash. I prefer Pexels and Pixabay.
Okay.
I'd argue that I'm more of a designer than they are. They're more practical, tactical, technical. So for them, they don't see the difference between Unsplash and Pexels and Pixabay. But they're all free. So look, if you can't find it in Pexels, go to Pixabay. If you can't find it in Pixabay, go to Unsplash. If you can't find it in Unsplash, go to Pexels. So who cares?
Right.
It's just add another 2 minutes onto your time. Any questions about updating or upgrading photographs or videos? I'm a big fan of using videos in your slides just to mix it up a little bit. They have some amazing videos. So if I click here and go to videos, you would simply download one of the videos and simply insert the video into your slide, just like you would do a photograph. And you can...
Other thing is, if you have Adobe Creative Cloud, they do have some free stock images there too.
Absolutely. There's a lot of places that have built as part of their subscription model. They have a free library of assets. Well, free.
Yeah.
They have
You're paying for it with Adobe for sure.
Yeah, they have included a library of assets.
Yep. That you don't have to pay additional fees for.
Correct. Yes. You're already paying for it, so why not use it? Any questions about quick tip number 2? All right, number 3. This is super easy. So if I have a slide, this to me looks like a typical slide that someone would present that's not really that proficient in PowerPoint. They're more of a casual user. One of the fastest ways to make this slide the bee's knees, one of the things we're going to be learning about in one of the few quick tips is chunking your bullets. So instead of using bullets, the reason why we devalue bulleted text is because it's super easy to do. So 99.999% of the people just default to bullets. So instead of using bullets, break your text up. Get rid of the bullets and break it up and bleed your pictures, which means that the image goes off the edge of the slide. So this is a quote unquote casual user, arguably an unprofessional slide. All I do is make the picture bigger, bleed it to the edge, and chunk the bullets so that they're not your typical bulleted text. And instantly I went from, oh boy, yay, another PowerPoint presentation to, this is something different. Maybe this will be different or better content. May or may not be true, but the quality of the slide is perceived to be indicative of the quality of the content. You don't want to ignore that. And you can bleed things to the right. You can bleed things to the left. It doesn't matter. And if you have brand standards that say, hey, you can't bleed stuff to multiple edges, you can bleed it to part of the edge. It's totally fine. And it works for other situations, let's say a title slide, something like that. So you can bleed it to the left and right. And instantly, it's going to look a bit more professional. And it's really, really easy to do. Any questions about bleeding your pictures?
Yes. Both Ashley and Aaron, what are you using as your transition or your animation?
It's called morph, and think of morph as auto animate. So here's what I can do. In morph, if I have an object, let's say I have an object that's right here. Boom, there's an object. And I duplicate that slide. And I move that object, and maybe I rotate that object, and I change the color of that object, whatever I want to do. So now if I apply under transitions, if I apply morph, it automatically animates the difference between those two slides. So think of it as auto animate. Basically, if you have two slides with the same elements on both slides and you move things around, you will automatically animate the difference between them. Animation terms, it's called tweening, if you will. Does that help answer that question? Hopefully, yes.
I think so.
I think so too.
I think
Other
Aaron
questions?
and Ashley love it. So
Good. Any other questions?
not yet.
Oh, awesome. If I go too fast, let me know. If I'm going too slow, let me know. If I'm going just right, don't say anything. Number 4 is where I talked about chunking your bullets earlier. Avoid bullet overuse. One of the secrets or one of the cheeky things I say is put your text inside of the bullets, because a bullet is a shape. If you put your text inside of a shape, suddenly your slides go from been there, done that to holy poop, this is very cool. Here's what I mean. Been there, done that, and all I'm doing is putting the text inside of the bullets, and suddenly I don't have your typical boring bulleted slide. All I'm doing is chunking the text in a way that's not just bullets. You can change the shapes. There are no rules. There are tons of shapes built into PowerPoint that you can apply. You can also add, if you want to, add photographs in there. So I went to Pexels and I simply filled the shape with a picture, because you can fill it with a color, you can fill it with a gradient, you can fill it with a pattern, a texture, you can fill it with a picture too. Or I can just chunk it without any shapes at all, just break it up into bite-sized digestible chunks horizontally, or I can do it vertically. It doesn't matter, but it's going to get away from that been there, done that. You just phoned this in because all you did was the typical bulleted slide thing. Avoid that. Avoid the bullets at all costs, and you will have instantly a better looking slide. It's really easy, and you can do some pretty clever, cheeky, fun things if you have shapes in your objects. And if anybody wants me to tell them how to do that, if we have time, I'll show you how to do stuff like this. I can also use, there's a tool that I help make called Build-A-Graphic, buildagraphic.com, but it's this really cool tool that has a giant library of PowerPoint infographics and elements that allows you to simply just insert them into your PowerPoint file, and they're all vector-based, which means that I can easily change things. So if I wanted to highlight this one, I would simply click on it, highlight it, and I'm good to go, because it's all vector-based. You can scale it. It doesn't lose quality. So that's another tool. So Pexels, Pixabay, Unsplash, Build-A-Graphic, those are some of my favorites that I use all the time. You can do all kinds of cool stuff if you have vector-based objects. Vector-based objects are going to be objects that are made up of math or shapes. So this is a vector-based object, which means that I can easily change the color of the object. I can easily scale it up. I can easily manipulate it any way that I want. So vector-based objects are going to be, and I'll put this in the chat, SVG files, EMF, WMF, Occasionally they're EPS, but I don't recommend using them, and AI files. These are the file formats that you're going to see. I put them in the chat. They are going to be vector-based. All the graphics in Pexels, Pixabay, and Unsplash, for the most part, are all what's called raster. They're JPEGs, PNGs, bitmaps, things like that. They are not vector-based. They're raster-based. They're made up of pixels. Graphics from things like Build-A-Graphic and the Noun project are going to be vector-based, SVGs and so forth. Here's a really cool tip to chunk your text. I'm guessing you've heard of SmartArt. SmartArt is terrible. Don't use it, because just like bullets, everybody uses it and it looks like the same old been there, done that. Oh, goody, another funnel graphic. So don't use it. Think of it as a smart start, not SmartArt. Don't stop at the SmartArt. Use it as a smart start. What do I mean by that? So if we take a look at this graphic, right? If we look at this, what I'm going to do is go to convert to SmartArt in my home tab, and I'm going to simply choose vertical bullet list. So I'm going to choose vertical bullet list. Once I do that, I'm going to right or control click and choose ungroup. Once I choose ungroup, these are shapes. So I can easily convert the shape to any, I can convert this to a circle if I want to. I can convert it to any shape that I want. And I can simply click on the objects and choose my size to be, let's say, 3 inches by 3 inches. And now, boom, that fast, I just chunked all of these into shapes. So that is a very, very fast way to do it. So think of SmartArt as a smart start to chunk your text, break it up into bite-sized digestible pieces. Any questions about what I just showed? Cool. Keep going. Awesome. Ooh. So the next one is realign, distribute, and fix scaling issues. When things are misaligned, it screams unprofessionalism. For example, if you see an org chart or a process diagram that looks like this, it looks far less professional than if I were to simply realign it to what's called a grid. So imagine there's a grid behind your objects. If you look at my slides are made up of guides, and guides are available under view. You can choose view guides, and you can turn the guides on and off if you want to. They help make sure that things are aligned to a master grid or guide in the background. The other thing that you can do is you can use some basic functionality in PowerPoint. So I have all these elements right here. First thing I'm going to do is select them and make sure under the Shape Format tab that they're all the same height. So let's go with 3 inches tall. So we'll click on all of these and make them 3 inches tall. Boy, it won't let me do that. That's weird. Hey, when PowerPoint updated, it won't let me select multiple. It used to let me do that. That's all right. So I'll do this. There's other ways to do this, but I'm not going to bore you with how to do that.
Can't you just hit F4?
You would think so, but I'm on a Mac.
Oh, sorry.
Nah, don't apologize for me being on a Mac. It's all good. So you used to, so every time Microsoft PowerPoint updates, they change some functionality. It used to be the case that you could select multiple objects and change the height, but that recently must have changed. So the next thing I'm going to do, once they're all the same height, is I'm going to go to my align functions. Lots of ways to get there. I can go to align from shape format. I could also go to my home tab and go to arrange, align, and I'm going to align them to the middle. And then I'm going to choose arrange, align, distribute horizontally. So once I do that, I have them mathematically perfectly across my slide. So I don't have to eyeball it or guess. All the math is being done behind the scenes. So I don't have to worry my head about figuring it out and hoping that I have a good eye for this stuff. Any questions about that? Cool. So if I take these, let's do this. So same thing. So we have, we're going to make sure that the height and the width is exactly the same. So I'm going to make all of these 3.91.
Make them circles.
Exactly. So if I make them all circles and I change the font to make sure that it's consistent, I suddenly have a get rid of those darn bullets, folks. I suddenly have a slide that looks way more professional, and it took me minutes to do. Get rid of the bullets, make sure that your imagery isn't squished. Just go to your shape format tab, check to make sure that the height and the width are exactly the same, or they're all consistent across. This is a hack that has happened to me before. Has anybody ever sent you a slide and you needed something off of it, but you couldn't select it? You're like, gosh darn it, I can't get it off of there. One of the first things to do is to go to your View Slide Master and make sure it's not on one of your slide masters. Just make sure it's not on there. Most of the time it isn't. Most of the time it's a background image, which you can't get. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my Design tab, format my background, and in my background, I have a picture fill. So I am going to tell it to tile the picture as a texture. So it's going to repeat it over and over again, which instantly fixes the aspect ratio issue, meaning that it was distorted and squished. Once I do that, I scale it till it fits on my slide, 50%, 50%. And then what I can do is do a screen grab or something like that. I can do a screen grab of this, and boom, I've got my image that I can now work with. So the first thing to do is fix that aspect ratio issue. So that was quick tip number 4. It was to realign, distribute, and fix scaling issues. Any questions?
Nope.
Cool. Awesome. Let's keep rolling. Maxi type. What in the hell is that? That is using text. Who knows what that is? So that is using text to be a design element. So for example, if let's say I need this slide to not look like your typical slide, and I have to use bullets because my brand standard says you have to use bullets. Let's just pick something out of this that is a standout point and make it big, bold, and maximize it. And that's maxi type. So I can make it big and giant. Best case scenario, you get rid of the bullets. You do those things and suddenly maxi type with getting rid of the bullets, you've got a much better looking slide. Here's another example of maxi type. Same old boring text. I just put the text in. But what about if I took a little bit more time to format the text? Suddenly the slide looks better. Just format it, highlight or bold or make larger the most important points. Build out. I need to talk to you about build out. It's in Singapore, but build out is the main point I want to make. Here's another example. Good, very good. Even better is if I used a little bit of maxi type to highlight key areas in my narrative to draw your attention to. It says, hey, this content is so important. I spent a little bit more extra time formatting it. And those subtle differences will help you stand out from your competitors, other PowerPoint presentations, from Gil. Gosh, Gil gives the worst PowerPoint presentations. When you get up there and you show your slide, they'll be, ooh, thank goodness it isn't Gil's slides. And forgive me if anybody knows a Gil who's amazing. This is another example. I'm simply highlighting or making more dominant, maximizing the point I'm trying to make using text. Text becomes one of the dominant aesthetic elements within my slide. So that is maxi type. Any questions? That's in.
Don't think so. Not yet.
Good, good. Next thing is KISS. Keep it simple, silly. So I can't tell you how many times I've seen quantitative charts that fall prey to this. The person that puts together the quantitative chart says, I want you to know how much work went into this research. So they shove all of the content on the screen at the same time and expect the audience to be able to decipher it. We've all heard of data analysis. This is not data analysis. This is data. In our world, in our at-a-glance society, we need to make sure our content is succinct and clear. So we figure out what we're trying to communicate and we focus on that. So what we start doing is eliminating all the unnecessary content that gets in the way of our key message. So what I wanted to let the audience know is that, hey, I did a lot of research. See, look, you don't need to know the numbers. You just need to know I did a lot of research. And the most important part is this one line right here. And this was our findings for this one line right here. Or even better, I could say, hey, there was a 39% decline, Or I could say, hey, there was an average 28% decline over all of the research. That is data analysis. You have done all the work of collecting the data, analyzing the data, and coming up with a conclusion that you backed up with factual, empirical evidence. That is KISS. Keep it simple, silly. Rather than, here's a whole bunch of data, good luck figuring it out. That's not good design, and that's not good communication skills. Here's another example. Oftentimes in our processes, we have thousands of steps. Break it down into highest level hierarchical bite-sized chunks, and then use that as your roadmap throughout your entire slide deck. Big picture first, little picture second. Macro level first, micro second. The reason why most people go to micro first is it's easier. It's easier to get down into the weeds than it is to step back and look at the big picture. So keep it simple, silly, and I promise you the quality of your presentations will go way up. Any questions about that? Cool.
Negative.
Awesome. One of the things we can do, knowing that we're living in an at-a-glance society, the way you and I work is we no longer request that information be clear and succinct. We require it. If you're not sure about that, think about the last time you did a Google or Bing search. You went onto the internet, you typed it in, you went to the web page, and you couldn't find what you're looking for. Did you stay there for hours, or did you stay there for seconds or minutes and leave? Odds are you didn't stay long. You went to the next website where you might be able to find what you're looking for. The same is true for PowerPoint presentations, Prezi presentations, Keynote. It doesn't matter. All the same. Find the most efficient way to communicate the information, and that may sometimes be as simple as take a photograph. Take a photograph to reinforce or augment what we're talking about. So I had a workshop, and this is what the person did. How clever was that? They said, I'm going to textually tell you what to do, but I'm also going to give you a visual to show you what we're going to do. You could also do things like, notice what I'm doing here, MAXI type. I'm making the image full bleed, getting rid of the bullets, doing everything that we've learned so far. But what I could also do is augment this with icons or symbols. So I could augment those with icons or symbols. There are symbols built into PowerPoint. So if we go to Insert, Icons, and you have a good set of, think of them as starter icons or symbols. Definitely use them. And they are what's called vector-based, as we talked about earlier. What I find is I need things that are a bit more robust for my needs. In my world, I need things that aren't like, here's a picture of a house, or here's a picture of an acorn. I need something a bit more robust. So that's why I use things like the Noun Project, which I did not put that in the slide deck. Angie, if you want to put that in the chat window. The nounproject.com or buildagraphic.com. Those are my two favorite places to get icons. And the Noun Project, I believe, is $40 a year, something like that. So
Affordable, for sure.
absolutely. All of these, if it was honestly at this point in my career, if it's under $1,000, it's affordable, because if you calculate my hourly rate times the time it takes to build one of these icons, by the time I built a few of them, I would have more than paid for it by downloading an icon or two. It's totally worth it. All right. So here's another example. We're using everything that we've learned so far. So what I'm doing is I'm getting rid of those freaking bullets. I'm going to augment it with a visual. This visual was, this particular one was from Build a Graphic. You can use whatever you want to use. If you have an in-house design resource, please use them. Or I could have used this isometric graphic as like a roadmap so I could speak to each one of these. What I mean by that is if you look at this graphic and I were to go to ungroup, I can select these. Let's say I want to talk to the first one. So what I can do for these is I'll go to home, I'll fill it the same background color. So I'll fill it the same background color, boom. And then I'll outline it with, let's say blue, something like that. So now I can tell people, hey, we're talking about Discover right now. Because these are vector-based, I was able to quickly do that. Yay, vector-based. Vector-based is the bee's knees if you can do it.
That was awesome.
It is super helpful. So let's go with a photograph. What about a raster image? Let's see, how am I doing for time? Okay, good. Raster image. Here I have an image. So that is another way to do it. You know, I just used pixels. I didn't use Build-A-Graphic that time. Here's another example. Not good. What we're going to do is get rid of unnecessary graphic embellishment, keep things consistent, use those professional images that I talked about. Suddenly it's better. Even better would be to convert this into an infographic, something like this. That's even better. You choose the level of effort that you think needs to go into your slides. Just know that the higher the value, the perceived value of the aesthetics, or I should say, the higher quality of the aesthetics is indicative of the perceived higher value of the content. People take shortcuts. They can't help it. They can't turn it off. Here's another example. Been there, done that. Let's use everything we've learned so far to fix it. So now I'm going to say, hey, your role as a yes user is as easy as 1, 2, 3. Way, way easier. KISS. Keep it simple, silly. We're not using bullets. We're using professional images, things like that. Here's another example. Okay, this is in our brand standard, but if we can, let's break it up, not use your typical bulleted slides. And now we're going to use MAXI type to simplify the content and bold the elements that I want to draw your attention to. The next thing I want to do is, again, using MAXI type, I might want to say, hey, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're going to go through each one of these. Or if I want to, I could use icons or symbols to help reinforce it. So that is what we just learned so far. Alternatively, I could take that same design. Any questions before I move on?
Nope.
Cool. It's cool. Alternatively, I could use graphics, infographic elements. Part of your downloads will be this graphic cheat sheet. It helps you pick the right graphic type to communicate the right information. So it allows you to, for relationship, to show a Venn diagram and nah, that's not right, or a puzzle and nah, that's not right. But what you can do is you're able to pick the graphic type that meets your needs before you waste time and money buying it or building it. So now you have lots of choices and you just pick one. That's going to be part of your downloads. So let's take, oh, there's also Build-A-Graphic, which I already talked about. So here is that same slide. We already showed you how to go from ho-hum to this, but now I could show it with an infographic. So I could do something like this. Or if I wanted to, I could do something like a road metaphor. I could do something like this. The choice is yours. Only you can decide what type of graphic will work for your content / subject matter and for your medium and for your audience. I can't answer that for you. But if you have the right tools, things like Pexels, Pixabay, Bixabay, Build-A-Graphic, Unsplash, the Noun Project, if you have these types of tools, you are not limited to your proficiency to make them. If you are one of those people that says, Mike, I will never spend a penny on buying graphics or anything like that, you can make them in PowerPoint. So part of your downloads are step-by-step instructions on how you can build these from scratch in PowerPoint. So take this graphic right here. How would you build that? Well, here are the step-by-step instructions, and I'll show you. So if I were to take this triangle, a isosceles triangle, and I were to draw a shape that bifurcates it, select both of them, and I'm going to choose Shape Format, Merge Shapes, Fragment. Once I do that, I now have multiple objects, so it's broken up. It's what's called a Boolean function. So now I have these two shapes. I'm going to colorize them so you know what the heck I'm doing. So I'm going to delete that. I'm going to colorize them so you can see there's two different sides. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Insert, and I'm going to go to my shapes, and I'm going to choose a hexagon. I'm going to choose a hexagon. I'm going to draw that hexagon, and I'm going to rotate that hexagon, and I'm going to change the color of it so you can see what I'm doing. So there's my hexagon. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate that hexagon, and I'm going to select one of them first, then the other, and choose Subtract. And now I have this little thing that's going to be my cookie cutter. I'm going to select my leftmost object, copy this first. Copy. I'm going to select my leftmost object. I am going to click on this cutter and choose subtract. And I'm going to do the thing. I'm going to do that for the other side as well. So I'm going to select and cut it away. I would repeat that until I had something that looks like this. You can then click on the object and choose edit points, and you can delete these points down here. And I can do the same over here. So you can see I'm creating, with just the basic functionality in PowerPoint, I am creating that pyramid graphic. The next thing I'm going to do is insert a diamond shape. And that's going to be my bases for my pyramid. So I can do this, scale it up. In PowerPoint, things are in layers, meaning that there's things in front of one another. If I were to go to view, or if I were to go to arrange, reorder objects, you can see that objects are in front of one another. So you can move things around. So what I can do is I'm going to colorize this so you can see it. Zoom in. Colorize it so you can see it. I'm going to send this to the back. So I'm going to right click and choose arrange, send to back. And now I'm able to create that, that look of being three-dimensional. And I would simply repeat that for each one of these and make them transparent if I want to. But that's how I created that really cool 3D effect, pyramid effect, with just basic tools in PowerPoint. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't have time for that. So that's why I tend to go ahead and use Pexels, Pixabay, the Noun Project, Build a Graphic, or something like that. But if you want to be a PowerPoint ranger, in your downloads, I will give you the step-by-step instructions on how to build these graphics from scratch.
That was amazing.
What's that?
So that was amazing.
It's really cool. I was one of those people that used to love building them from scratch back in the day. Now, with all the work I have, I simply don't have the time. So what I do is I build when I can't buy it, and I buy it when I can. So if I need something that I can't acquire anywhere else, I'm going to build it. So if I have a tool like Build a Graphic or Pexels or whatever, I can augment that with anything I need to build. So if I can't find it there, then I'll go ahead and build it. That saves me so much time. For what it's worth. The last quick fix is more of a way of looking at your content. So typically, in a PowerPoint presentation, this is the final slide in your deck, where it says, all right, in conclusion, here are the highlights and the benefits. No. Instead, first of all, you're not using a lot of the things we learned about. But the other thing is why wait to the end to tell people what the highlights and benefits are? Why don't you start with the highlights and benefits and then use those to contextualize all the geeky stuff that you're about ready to share with them? So instead, what you would do is I'd start with highlights and benefits, and I'd say, hey, this is all about three things: saving money, making your job easier, and faster. This particular deck was to hotels. It was software for hotels to use to help them save money, make their jobs easier and faster. We have 8 ways to ensure that you save money, make your job easier, and do your job faster. The first one is the solution is free. It's all free, and that's going to save you money. The next thing is it's got a user-friendly, intuitive interface. That's going to make things easier and faster, and so forth and so on. So what we're doing is we're chunking the information, we're putting our text inside of the bullet, inside of a shape, and then we're connecting the dots to the benefits. So there's always context, meaning that user-friendly, intuitive interface, hey, I promised you easier and faster. How are you going to do that? With a user-friendly, intuitive interface. And then we use this as our agenda. So we said, hey, it's free to hotels. Let me talk to you about how we ensure that it's free. Number 1 is we have a grant. Number 2 is we have a work to learn, not to earn. We have a work to learn, not to earn curriculum. Number 3 is we have loyalty programs. These 3 things combined always ensure that we keep the product free. Now, I talked to you about a user-friendly, intuitive interface. Let me explain what I mean about easier and faster. Those things make it easier. These things make it faster. The same is true for our mobile apps. These things make it easier, and those things make it faster. So what I'm doing is I'm starting with the end. I'm saying this is what's in it for you, and I'm connecting the dots. I'm always giving context so that when I start talking about ITIL or Scrum or L&D solutions, they're not like, well, how is this helping me achieve my goal of making my job easier? You're always contextualizing, always contextualizing. I wrote some books, who cares? All right, here's the downloads I promised. I'm gonna put this in the chat window. I wasn't able to upload them to my 24-hour company website. Long story, so I found a workaround, and this is it, and I'll put it in the chat window. Where's the chat window? I'll put it in the chat. There it is. Here it comes. Boom, there's the link. You can download the cool stuff that I promised you I would give. And I hopefully left enough time for any questions that you may have. This is the quietest group I've had in a while. What question? Do you have any questions about anything that you saw, heard, or wished I would have talked about, or any challenges, reoccurring challenges? Or are you thinking, oh, poop, this was a lot to do, or in lunchtime?
Aaron, we're super excited to see your presentation now.
No pressure.
I know, right?
A lot of this is new to me, so thank you. And it seems very easy, user-friendly, like PowerPoint is. So I can't wait to try some of this on this presentation. And we do learning moments in our proposal marketing team, so I'll do some of that too.
That is awesome, Aaron. Yeah, spread the word, help people get better at this stuff, because death by PowerPoint is simply because people don't know how best to use the tool. It's not because the tool stinks, not like Prezi is the worst tool, or Keynote's the worst tool, or PowerPoint's the worst tool. It's just we don't quite know how to use it. And in our defense, Microsoft has dished up not the best way to do these things. And so what we're trying to do is break it.
This is all that I've been doing this since 1998, marketing in the AEC industry, and this is all I've ever used or had available with firms, which I'm surprised, but the way you've done it, it can look so sophisticated and savvy. I love it. It can be so much more than what we do all these past years.
Absolutely.
I've worked for. So it's nice to know it can look so much more sophisticated. I love the transitions that you do. Was that just through the transition tab, most of what I saw?
Yes. So one of my sneaky little tricks I love to do, this is kind of clever. Boy, I have another workshop that I'd love to show you about all of these things, but here's a clever little thing. So one of my favorite tricks is, what I'll do is I'll draw a circle, and here I'll do two things. I'll draw a line just so you can see what I mean. Sometimes you have so much content it doesn't fit on a slide. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw this and then draw a line. Here, let me do this. So I drew a line. I'm going to make the line really thick so you can see it. I don't know what the resolution of your screen is. So here it is. I'm going to make it the same color so you can see it. All right. So there is a line with a circle. So what I'm going to do is I am going to duplicate this slide. So let's say this is point number one. I want to make this is point number one. Let me make it bigger. Boom, boom, boom. This is something important I want you to know. But I've got so many points I want to make, they wouldn't fit on a slide, or they'd be too verbose. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate that slide. I'm going to move this over to the other side. And I'm going to say, this is point number two I want to make. So, oops, I put them in the wrong order. So point number one is here. Point number two is here. So what I'm going to do is on second slide, I'm going to go to transitions. I'm going to do push, but I'm going to choose push, and I want it to push to the right. So what it does is it gives the illusion that it's one giant slide that I'm navigating through. So this is point number one. Let me talk to you about it. This is point number two. So all I'm doing is using a push animation to go between the two. And I've used that quite a bit in my deck. Between morph and push, you're able to do some really, really nice effects that help reinforce the flow of your narrative. Play around with those transitions. You'll find, don't use stuff like this. Those are silly. Yeah, and someone challenged me. I had a keynote presentation to give, and someone challenged me to use that. And I said, you bet your bottom dollar. So during my keynote presentation, I had an origami bird fly away.
Awesome.
Things have changed. They're there.
Yep. Any other questions? Cool.
Okay, well, I'll share my screen really fast.
All right, let me stop.
And then I'll do the thing I talked about. I put it in the chat, but something special that we have coming up here in 13 days is a training for the winning system that AEC proposal teams need to know. Erin can probably help teach this, as she's been in the industry for a while as well. But it's my 6 steps to develop proposals confidently while working with engineers and estimators. You can either, I put the link in the chat, or you can scan the QR code. What you'll get the training, access to the training, which is, this training is an all-day training. I don't do this one very often because it sucks the energy out of me, being an all-day training. And then you also get the ebook that goes with it. So if you have that important proposal, or team members that need onboarded, that have are not familiar with the AEC industry, this would be that perfect first or 10th step for them to help with that. So in the end, you can develop compliant, concise, owner-focused proposals that scores you the most points without having to, we're teaching you how to train your technical staff. So you don't have to retrain them every time, which is the challenge with pursuits. So there's Mike's information. We will get the recording out hopefully by Friday, but for sure Monday. Allie, my assistant, is going to Colombia for how long has she gone? For a month or 2. So she leaves on Friday. So if we don't get it done on Friday, it'll be out on Monday for sure. So any other questions for Mike or myself?
No, thank you very much.
Thank you, Angie.
You're welcome, Erin. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you. That's wonderful.
Cool. Thanks for geeking out with me, folks.
Yeah.
Anybody else before we say goodbye? Susan?
Susan's not in her car. Unless your car got really big. Thank you, Angie, so much for making this happen.
You are very welcome. Thank you, Mike. Now I have to go fix all my PowerPoints.
No. See you later. Enjoy your soon-to-be weekend. We're much closer to the weekend.
Yes, for sure. All right. Thank you all.
Bye-bye.
Good presentation, Mike.
Thank you so much, Mike.